fuck's sake. Is that all right? Still being nuts.
Am I cocking it up?
Yeah.
I was going to say...
Go on, I won't, I swear.
Don't want to come back.
I won't. I won't, I swear. I won't go.
That's for the outtakes, that's for the intro.
I've said to you before, the two P's, you know, it's all about the people and the products. If you haven't got both of them, if you've got both of them, you're a very successful company. If you've got one of them, it will be all right. If you haven't got either of them, forget it, sort of thing. And that was the lesson I learned from the first time round. You know, I can't go to the petrol station and fill my tank up with fuel. You know, I'll get bored after when it gets to 20 quid. I'm like, you know, I want to get away. He was 2 steps in front of me, and because it was oily, I had my nice shiny shoes on, you know, with the stickers, the Top Man stickers still on the bottom. And I slipped, and as I slipped, my arm went forward, and I caught him square in the back with my case, lifted him off his feet. But okay, what direction we're going in here? You go back, right. What do we do with this? Do we hold on to it? Do we fold it and say that's gone? Do we walk away and say, no, we don't want anything to do with it, or do we just get out of here and have absolute, you know, keep it at arm's length? So they're the 4 things, yeah.
Have you ever done the run one?
Loads of times, yeah. Quite a few times, yeah.
Martin, great to have you on this podcast. I'm doing a series of these. We've got 6 in the first season, and it's, you know, a real pleasure to have you.
Season 1 this then?
Season 1, yeah, you're featuring on season 1. Now, I've known you, I think, for about 10 years. Can you remember where we first met?
I think it's longer than that.
Do you think?
Because I've been here 10 years.
Oh, so it must be, yes.
So
yes.
maybe a couple of years before.
Okay, so
12,
do you remember
13.
where it was? It was an MTA dinner.
At the NEC.
At the NEC.
And you come over, I was doing my own thing, my own business with Promote Telemarketing, and I had the Matic UK thing going, and MTD was in its infancy as well.
So you're right, I reckon it must have been about 2008, 2009, but yeah, it was at the MTA dinner. I think we compared watches at the time.
Did we?
Yeah. I think mine was a little bit better than yours then.
Yeah.
But things have obviously changed a lot since then, which we'll learn about. We'll learn about since then till now, and of course also your history, because that's really important for me in these podcasts to find out about the person and where they came from. And potentially, let's start with that, Martin, because you're now the managing director here at the Engineering Technology Group. But where did it all begin for you as a person in manufacturing? Because that's obviously, you know, key to everything that we're doing these days.
I mean, well, there's manufacturing or engineering, however you want to put it. But the engineering, it's literally straight from school. So I was always pretty good at the CDT, craft design and technology. I don't know what they call it nowadays.
Out the box.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so you know, a bit of filing and all this sort of stuff. So I like that at school. I weren't any good at French and the important stuff like maths and English and all that. I was rubbish. But yeah, quite hands-on sort of pupil, if you like. And then when I left there, I went into the Royal Engineers. There was a short stint in there because I was interested in engineering, literally from always in the garage with my dad and all this sort of stuff, you know, trying to fix bits and bobs. So yeah, that's where it all started.
What's Royal Engineers?
Well, it was
being
junior,
an engineer with a cap on.
Yeah, sort of. Well, it was a junior leaders Royal Engineers. I was based down in Dover in Kent, and what you do is you go in for your basic training and stuff, and you become a non-commissioned officer, so like a corporal or a sergeant or something like that. But I quickly got homesick because I had Louise and I had the first nipper when we was very, very young, and yeah, so in the end I transferred out of there to the atomic weapons establishment at Aldermaston because it was more of a base, you know, rather than moving about and stuff like that. So still in engineering, so I was a bit of a late apprentice.
And did you then do an apprenticeship there?
Yeah, I started. I think I was just turning 19, something like that. So you know, I was with these 16-and-a-half-year-olds. But with a young family who was living in a housing association house and all that sort of stuff, I needed to knuckle down and earn some money, you know. So I sort of got my head down and banged myself through an apprenticeship. So down there.
And then from there, did you carry on in, you know, on the shop floor? Did you move on? Because you've moved quite a lot in your life. I think. Can I take a guess at this?
Sorry,
I know
go
you
on.
told me the past. Was it something like you moved 19 times in 19 years?
No, see, you've
Stole your
exaggerated.
Right.
You've exaggerated by 2.
Okay.
This is our 17th house. Yeah,
17th
17th house.
What,
yeah.
in 17 years?
No, it's longer than that. I think, you know, I'm counting the house I was brought up in and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, since I've been with Louise and with the kids, we have moved considerable amount. Yeah.
Why have you moved so much? Because I'm quite a home person.
Yeah.
When I sort of put my roots down,
Yeah.
there for anything less than 5, 6,
Yeah.
7 years, I think is a short period.
I think it's part of my nature. Same with work. I'm not necessarily saying moving about work and stuff like that, but I can't stand still for very long. You know, I can't go to the petrol station and fill my tank up with fuel. You know, I get bored after when it gets to 20 quid. I'm like, you know, I want to get away. So they say moving house is the most stressful thing, you know, and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, well, where'd you get that from? I absolutely love it. The moving and the doing it up and stuff like that. And then once it's all done, I'm like, oh, I'm a bit bored of it now. Move on.
But is that so? Pretty much every single one of these moves,
Yeah.
then you've moved into somewhere and then you put your stamp on it, and you've decided
on.
that's.
Yeah, and actually,
How does Louise feel about that?
she's a bit used to it now. She's a bit used to it. I mean, what great that she supported me throughout the whole lot. You know, she sort of goes along with it, and it's her choice as well. But yeah, we've had some good experiences with it. But yeah, pretty much everyone we've moved from, we just leave it hook, line, and sinker. We literally go with a couple of bags, and that's it.
And is that why
sell it with the furniture and everything, and start from scratch?
So that's probably why you take a lot of the stress out of it then, because you don't have that.
Just move.
Suppose you don't necessarily have kids' schools to arrange. You don't have furniture.
Well, we was
to sell.
young. We was young when we had the kids. So now we've kind of done it in reverse to most people. We're sort of like living it up a little bit like youngsters now, you know, and having a bit of fun with it all. Because we had we had to do all the family knuckling down. You know,
so you were 19, did you say, when you had your first?
No, Perry, I was 16, and then Connor, I think I was 21, something like that. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So now
Louise is much older. Louise is
she doesn't
a little.
look it, Mark. She doesn't look it.
No, she's a bit older than me. She's a couple of years older than me, so it doesn't sound too bad.
And then coming back to sort of when we first met that time, and you're right, it's probably about 2008, 2009. You were running something called Promote Telemarketing.
Yeah. Well, that was Louise running that. Really, he was running it in tandem with Matek.
Okay. But prior to that, you'd been working at Hardinge. You'd sold machine tools at DMG Murray, and you'd also started on cutting tools.
Yeah.
And
Horn tooling. That's right.
Was that a good foundation for you?
Brilliant. So good. And you know, that was my first. Between leaving AWE Aldermaston, there was I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years I was doing production engineering and stuff like that, getting a bit of industry experience. But I always wanted to get out on the road and, you know, see different people. As I say, in my nature, wanting to move about and got to have a different thing going on, you know, every day sort of thing. So, and I saw these reps coming in, and you know, they sort of in their suave suits and all that. I thought, oh yeah, they've got a nice car and a big phone at the time, you know, and all this sort of stuff.
The old Don Jolly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hello. So I thought, oh yeah, I like that. So I looked to get into sales, and then this job come up with Horn, and I remember meeting Mike Green, and. I've got to say, you know, tip my cap to him. He gave me my first start, absolutely brand new, wet behind the ears. You know, thought I was the dog's dangly sort of thing. You know, but thought I knew everything. And he gave us a start. So yeah, but he's still at Horn.
I was in Germany with him a couple of years ago. How hard was that transition, going from shop floor into having that car, wearing that suit, and going, right, I've got to arrange my diary now. I've got to go out and sell stuff.
Personally,
and did it fit you?
Personally,
Not the suit,
the suit definitely didn't fit me. It was like, I think it was my brother's hand-me-down, to be honest, double-breasted thing that wrapped around me twice. But personally, I found it dead easy. I was absolutely in my element, you know, and I think a lot of naivety was there. If you don't realise how how much pressure it can be, and how getting sales, how important it is, and all that sort of stuff. You kind of just go into it a little bit naive. So I think that actually done me good. That I didn't know, I didn't have the experience. I went in there with me, I bought myself a big briefcase, and all that sort of stuff, and went in sort of.
Isn't that about you've not a lot to lose? It's like the position you're in now in the company you've got now, you've got a lot to lose. So pressure becomes compounding based on that, doesn't it? But when you go into something new and it's like, right,
Well, yeah, you've got nothing to compare it against.
No.
But I remember the first visit, my first ever sales visit, was to Premier Screw in Leicester, selling horn tooling. And Premier Screw is full of Whitmans and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's been a Whitman shop, but it's very oily and all this sort of stuff. And I remember going in, I had this big case thing, like I was saying, fill it full of brochures and all that, thinking that was the way to sell. You just sit with a bloke and bore him to death going through brochures. But anyway, we walked up the stairs in his office, and then this guy, Paul Hudson, unfortunately passed away a few years back, but you go down the stairs into the workshop, and it was very oily and stuff like that. And I was walking behind him, he said, "Come on, son, I'll take you down to the workshop." He was 2 steps in front of me, and because it was oily, I had my nice shiny shoes on, with the stickers, the Top Man stickers still on the bottom. And I slipped, and as I slipped, my arm went forward, and I caught him square in the back with my case, lifted him off his feet. And honestly, that was my first sales visit.
And what happened? Did he take it?
We become really good friends, and he became my top customer, and like years after, we still tell the story and all that. As I say, he's passed away now.
Wow,
but,
unfortunate at the time.
That was my first ever sales visit.
Now tell me about something, if it's for public consumption, that happened during your time at Horn with the car. Now I remember you telling me a story once. Now this
well, yeah.
And
this is a Mike Green one. He'll be listening to this. So I had this Rover. They give me this hand-me-down Rover. For some reason, I always get hand-me-downs, because I think that people know that I'm going to ruin it, sort of thing. So I had a hand-me-down Rover, and my area used to cover. I was living up in Sutton in Ashfield, Nottinghamshire at the time, and the extremity of my area south was Northampton, and I was going in. I remember going to Cosworth, but I was moaning about this Rover for weeks. Are you on about when that? Right, okay.
Up the motor, yeah.
Yeah, so because there's a couple of stories of that one, but I was moaning about it for weeks. I want to get a new car, and I wanted a Golf GTI. So Mike Green, I need a new car. No, until you've got to wait until the end of the lease, which I think I had another year or left, or if it's properly broke, you've got to keep it. So I was thinking about this. I went into Cosworth, and it was a red hot day. The bloody aircon didn't work and all this sort of stuff. So I thought, well, I remember what Mike says, if it's dead, then they'll swap it. So I put it in second gear, and I drove it and rode the clutch all the way from Northampton to Nottingham. And back then it was that you could, that clutch smell when you're burning the clutch and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I was gutted because the closer to home I was getting, nothing was happening with this car, So I'm like, well, it's going to blow up. So anyway, last 2 miles, come off up the slip load of the motorway, it just went like that, yeah. So I rung Mike. Bearing in mind I'd been on the phone to him that morning saying, can you swap the car? No, son, you can't. Oh, Mike, you wouldn't believe it. The car's just blown up. And I can't. I mean, if this is being filmed or whatever, I can't tell you what he said.
I can say our cameraman's even laughing behind me.
So yeah, but I got a Golf GTI, yeah, and it was the one with the red eye as well. It was 1.8 version, which was great.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay, so it worked.
Yeah.
Going on from there, you then stepped into the machine tool world, which is of course where you are now.
Yeah.
With DMG at the time, a
that's
company
right,
that I was working for, I think just before you.
Yeah. I can't remember the year, but it was when it was in Richard Blake's day, and again, sort of big thank you to him really for giving me a start in machine tools.
Yeah.
So
that as a company to work for had such a portfolio of machinery that it was a really good place to learn, wasn't
definitely,
it? About all types of
100%.
technologies.
Yeah.
It almost led you on to be able to go anywhere, didn't it? Did you find the same?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they had a very good structure back then, where new starters and that how the sort of induction, if you like, learning the ins and outs of machines and stuff like that. And of course, the facilities over in Fronton and stuff like that, I visited there. They're top notch. So that was a good start.
I won't ask you all the stories about Fronton and that because they probably definitely won't be for.
Yeah, you won't be able to publish that.
Yeah. Then, of course, Martin, that takes us on to the time where Hardinge became part of your life, really, didn't it? And almost that's been a big part of your life into
massive.
where we're at the Engineering Technology Group.
Yeah.
If you could just walk us through that period and how ETG became about to where you are now.
Well, there was a bit of a stint because there was a bit of I was at Hardinge twice. So straight after DMG, Blakey had left, and I decided to move on myself, and I went to Hardinge. And I had a pretty good time of it there. And I can't remember how many years, but let's say 2-3 years I was there. And then I saw an opportunity to start my own business. I thought, again, young, I thought, this is going to be this dead easy. And that was the Matec UK. So I was importing Matec machines from Germany. That, in fact, I know when that was 2008 because it was the financial crisis. So, here's me having this great idea, let's start a business smack bang in the middle of the financial crisis. So, lessons learned on that one. But lasted a couple of years with that, and unfortunately it folded for one reason or another. Again, lessons learned, bad business decisions, bad business partners, all this sort of stuff. But Hardinge was always there as well. John McTurnan was there in the background saying, why don't you come back and sales manager, director, whatever, and run the sales team. So and that's what I did. Went back to Hardinge. Again, after a couple of years, they had a restructure. Coming Jones and Shipman, and the company started focusing more on grinding and stuff. I was getting the feeling that they were coming away from the milling and turning. And at that same time, they were also restructuring worldwide, going the distributor route, where they always used to have Hardinge direct, and then decided to go the distributor route, apart from the UK. So again, I was a bit unhappy with the way it was going, and I decided I was being courted, if you like, by Paul Rhodes, who's the founder of ETG for a number of years before that, become a good friend of mine, and so I thought, right, well, sod it. I've learnt my lesson from starting my own company, trying to do it all on my own. I wanted to go out and find a company that was a bit more ready-made, that had a bit more rounded, had a few more people that could fill the gaps that I was missing from the first time round, and started speaking to Paul.
And you managed to bring Hardinge here as part of that move, didn't you? Which was some move.
It was, yeah. It basically doubled overnight. Doubled the turnover, if you like, and the EBITDA of ETG overnight. Very, very similar turnover and EBITDA companies at the time. So it's one of them. You bring 2 and 2 together, and the idea is make 5. So we bought. I think it was about 40 people over via 2P as well at the time. So that was a big achievement. That's one of me sort of stake in the ground.
I'm not surprised. It really was, Martin. And we'll talk about your achievements. And you talk about decisions, bad decisions.
Yeah.
And we'll come on to those as well, because I think we've got some common beliefs in those areas. Where you are today, then, the Engineering Technology Group, over that 10-year, I think since 2013 to now, which has gone unbelievably quickly.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
What position are you in now as a person and the company, and what have you learned in that last 10 years since you've had this business, and have now, of course, Paul Rhodes is long gone?
Taking a well-earned retirement. So it's myself and John Temple now as shareholders, and what have I learned? What can you say? I mean, it's hard work, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It's good fun. What makes it successful? I think I've said to you before, the 2 Ps, it's all about the people and the products. If you haven't got both of them, if you've got both of them, you're a very successful company. If you've got one of them, it will be all right. If you haven't got either of them, forget it, sort of thing. And that was the lesson I learned from the first time round. So I've learned to surround myself with good people, surround myself with good products. And again, I've got sort of hats off to Paul Rhodes he had the foresight to get some good products with Nakamura especially, likes of Chiron and the latest Axile deal as well. So good products is a secondary thing. The people definitely 100% is.
And you talk about the people because you know, and I've known you for a long time, as we've talked about here. You're quite a humorous guy.
Right.
You're like a bit of a stunt.
I think I am. Louise is, 30 odd years of it. Louise would say otherwise.
I mean, even in the times of COVID, I'll never forget we were doing our broadcasts.
That's right. Yeah.
We were getting people on the Zoom call, and the Zoom call ended, and you stood up and you were wearing some.
I'd be tutu on.
Tutu. I mean, it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
That I recognise you for two things. I recognise you as in that element, and also as a professional businessman that's running a successful company. The people side, do you show that humorous side to all your staff? They must see it in your customers.
They'll see a glimpse of it and stuff, and I think
how important is that to you? Because I don't think you could change.
I mean, I don't go and try and do it. That's just me. And sometimes actually I have to pull myself back a bit because I think, well, actually that's a bit extreme. You should be lead by example, sort of thing. And I wouldn't want people necessarily doing the things I do. So you've got to temper it a little bit. I mean, you've seen more because of outside work and stuff like that, so...
I mean, we take our football matches. When we played the engineering technology group at football, you were in your element as the manager of that, weren't you?
Yeah, love it.
The camera work, that kind of... It was almost like that Ricky Gervais sort of...
Cheers, mate. Cheers. Bloody hell.
It was David Brent
dance.
It was David Brent on the sidelines, but it was a different side to you that it's really pleasurable to see and to be with, and I really hope that you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, the thing is, I can be. It's a bit. I wouldn't say Jekyll and Hyde, but if you was to ask some employees, I'd like to think that they would say that they are, I'm an approachable sort of fella, and I am down to earth, and I've got airy legs just like the next bloke, and I can be grumpy as well. I've been known to be a bit grumpy and a bit hot-headed and stuff like that. But you've got to balance it out, haven't you? Because we're all human at the end of the day. We all have bad times, good times, and all that sort of stuff. And the biggest thing I've learned is to appreciate every single individual. What's important to them, is 100% important to them, and you've got to empathise with that. So it's.
And one of your hobbies is boating as well, isn't it? So
it's not though, Paul, is it? It's not. Why are you saying that?
Well, where you, in amongst your 17 moves over the last 19, 20 years, however long it's been, you now live in Stratford, not far from here, and you have a boat which
I know
in your getaway times. That's how you like to relax and
it's a little electric boat. You're sort of making it sound as if I'm like doing yachting and stuff like that. It's a little electric boat. I bought this house, and last couple of years we've sort of doing it up, and it's probably. I've got to say it's probably the best one I've ever had, because it's 5 miles down the road, something like that. And I can leave work, and you have the stresses of the day and stuff like that. This place on the river, I could be anywhere, so it's a real getaway from it all. I've never fished in my life. I started fishing. I thought I'd buy myself a little boat, see what all that's about and stuff like that.
Can you drive the boat in the dark?
We can't drive the boat in the dark, so yeah. So I've never tried to drive the boat in the dark, apart from when I've been with you guys.
Well, I was lucky enough for you to invite us.
Yeah.
There was others there. We went out for a day on your boat.
Yeah.
I've got to say it was a really good experience. We started kind of mid-afternoon, didn't we?
Yeah.
And by the time we left where we were,
it
was dark.
Yeah.
and you know,
we crashed it basically. well, you lot crashed it. So I thought you was going to say we started off at this end of the boat and then we ended up at this end of the boat. I think Joe's still got the bump on his head, hasn't he?
But when you dropped us off, then didn't you then crash it on the way back as well? Because you've got those kind of in Stratford, you've got those things on the river, the arches, and what's between them?
Well, the thing is, at 12 midnight in Stratford, all the street lights go off. So of course the river, there's the road that runs down by the river, so it's not too bad. But 12 o'clock, I'd never driven the boat at 12. You know, from Stratford, it's a couple of miles back to my house, and I'd never done it. Yeah. Out in the middle of nowhere, cloud cover, no moonlight or anything, it's pitch black. And because I'm half cut, I'm looking through one eye trying to steer the boat and stuff, and there was a bridge in front of me.
So, when you hit it, did the boat go up like that?
Yeah. It's not so. Yeah, it's got the damage. You need to move on from that story.
It was a great day.
It was a good day. Yeah, it was good.
The management then of people then, Martin, this is something I think you can only learn. You can't go to school, to university, to wherever to learn about how to manage people and get the best out of people, can you? Yeah. That's a skill you have to acquire over a period of time.
Well, I think you can go on courses, you know, management courses and that, and you can get the basics.
That's the same as being actually?
It's not the same, but of course it will help. But if it's not in your DNA, then it's never going to happen. You know, some people can do it, some people can't. You know, and I think you can go on as many courses as you like, but you still need that little bit of. It's just got to be in you a bit. You know.
And when you take management and leadership, do you consider them to be the same thing or two different things? And if they are different, what is leadership? Because you are the leader of this business. So how do you lead?
Well, you've got managers and leaders. There's a, in my opinion, there's a bit of a crossover there, but there is a difference because you know you can manage a situation, or you could to keep it stable or whatever. You can manage people to do a job that's sort of like not repetitive or something like that. That's just managing, but to lead. Then to move forward and bring the people forward with you, then you become a leader then, don't you? So, and that's where I'm saying you wouldn't be able to teach that in a book.
And are you good at that?
With that, you're probably asking the wrong person, really. I'd like to think I am. I try.
Do you spend a lot of time on thinking how to live? Do you spend a lot of time on? There's always a danger, isn't there, running a business of spending too much time working in it rather than working on it. Yeah. And
it is hard.
Comes from working on it.
Yeah. You can't, so I think it goes peaks and troughs. It depends on how the company's doing at the time. Sometimes you're dealing with the here and now. So what you're doing there is you're managing. It's nice when things are right and things are sort of all tickety-boo running around in the background. You can put your leadership hat on and say, right, okay, what's the next? Where are we going? Because as a company, they say, and I believe it too. There's no standing still. You're either going forwards or backwards. So, and of course, we all want to move forward. So, sometimes you have to try and step away from the day-to-day running management of the company and become that leader to look for the next best, what's the next best thing, or what can we do better with what we've already got.
And do you find that the bigger your business gets and the more you sell, the more difficult it becomes? Do you find new challenges that you begin to face as that growth happens?
Yeah.
You might think to yourself, if I just kept it to this and to that, and to these, and it would be much easier. Or do you thrive off?
I don't know whether it would be easier, would it? I don't know. I don't know any company that can just say, right, okay, I'm happy with my lot there. They're the ones that go backwards. So unless you're moving forwards, unless you're forward thinking and looking at what's next, and when you're growing, unfortunately, we've when it comes down to people, the COVID, we made redundancies, which probably one of, in work-wise, one of the worst times of my life. That was terrible. But as far as people are concerned, the bigger you get, obviously you're going to need more people, more skill and stuff like that. And I find nowadays it's the people that I I don't struggle with it, but you have to adjust a lot more nowadays than I have. I've just, you know, that's what.
And you find that's because every person is different, aren't they?
Yeah.
This is the.
Yeah.
Every person is different. Everybody has a different attitude. Everybody has a different want to get up. Something they want to do, something they don't want to do. A shorter temper, a longer temper, a better sense of humour or not a sense of humour, and it's just kind of trying to manage all of that, isn't it? Which is hard.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said earlier, what matters to one person doesn't matter to another. And I find I'm quite a personable guy. You know, I like to know behind the scenes of not just work. Not that I'm nosy, but I feel like I care about people, you know, and you know, in people's home lives, if their home lives aren't right, the work you'll see it be reflected in the work. So you try and look beyond, well, that guy does this job, you know, and is he any good at it and all this sort of stuff. Could you get more out of him if you know, listen to him and listen to his problems? If he's got any problems, what motivates him? Different people are motivated by different things. You know, some people, I don't know, they just want them, not just want the money. It's important. You know, they want to earn a shed load of money. Another person might not want to get dirty. Another person might want to work short hours. You know, it's
different.
It's different.
And apart from the boats and the fishing and all those things, what's a day look like in the shoes of Martin Doyle? Let's take a work day and a weekend day.
Work day, every single day different. So I can't
in terms
honestly.
Of what time are you up? What time do you finish?
I'm not a very good sleeper, to be fair.
Are you not?
No, so I'm up usually. I'd say probably 5ish, something like that. So I'm up usually about 5. Sometimes before if I've got something going on in my head, you know. But about 5 or 6, and I'll go out. I'll go and sit on my deck and have a look at the river and have a fag and, you know, have a think about things and then come to work or come here. Be here or High 4 in Coventry. I'll go over there every other week as well. So. And then just get into it really, and I can't honestly tell you, oh yeah, at 9 o'clock I do this. The one thing I do is as soon as I get in, most of the people are here at 8:30, but every single morning I'll go and say morning and hello to every single person in the building, and I do the same when I'm over at High 4 as well. I feel that's important.
Yeah.
And so I don't plan anything for the first 2 hours of my day. Try not to put anything in the diary apart from things like this, because what you find is, I'm not sure how many people are actually in this, probably let's say 20, 25 people in this office, in this particular building. You'd think that it would take, you know, it's a morning, how you doing, that's it, move on. You can pretty much guarantee somewhere on that circuit that I've done, someone will say, oh, can you have a look at this? What do you think of this, or whatever? So that's usually what starts giving me my workload.
And when that day finishes, though, is it then back home, back on the deck, back with a fishing rod?
Yeah, well, like I say, with this,
is it a walk in there? Is it to get that? You know,
do
you have to get the work out of your head?
Well, I'm still thinking about it, but then I suppose it's easier because I don't have to think about it. I'm not forced to, because I'm not in the environment. So, and of course with the house, I'm refurbishing and all that sort of stuff. I like a bit of DIY and all this sort of stuff. So sometimes I like to get into things that actually completely I can't think of work. You know, sometimes I think it's important that you need something like that. But I like my pop and all that as well. So I'll have a couple of beers and sit on the decking and then, I don't know, start painting a wall or something, jumping in.
The COVID time was tough for every business, and there's something, and you've touched on it about the redundancies. But one of the other interesting points in the notes leading up to this is how you said you're struggling with the attitudes of potentially how the workforce is changing or has changed a little bit. What did you mean by that?
So now, don't get me wrong, I'm not necessarily saying it's wrong or a bad thing, but it's definitely changed. You know, the way, the attitudes of people have changed since COVID. I mean, furlough. I'd never heard of the word furlough until before COVID. I don't know, it's because of my lack of English education and all that back at school. I'd never heard of the word. I didn't know what it was, you know. And then all of a sudden, this word furlough, working from home, and all this becomes a thing. And there's a wave of people, if you like, they're used to that. That's it's not new to them. You know, it's standard. So we're coming out of it. There's some weird sort of really weird experiences where I heard that was interviewing somewhere in the division, was interviewing for a position and stuff, and the first things that people are asking was, you know, can I work from home? And because they've been at home for however long it went on for. Can I work from home? How much holiday do I get? And the weirdest one was how much furlough days do I get? Now they obviously didn't quite get it, how that actually worked, but they thought that was, you know, you've got sick pay, you've got X amount of days. How many sick days? Now back in my day, that's not treated as a I've got X amount of sick days. I'll have to take them. That's just for when you're sick.
Yeah.
Holidays are when you're taking holidays. Furlough I'd never heard of. Honestly, some people are putting them all together and saying, "Oh yeah, I can have like 2 months off," sort of thing. You know, it's just very strange.
Do you think it's changed? It's going backwards in any way? Do you think it's going back to how we have known and grown up with, or do you think that that's kind of here to stay and it's still the same?
I think it's here to stay, because then what's the latest one? You know, 4-day week and all this sort of stuff. I don't know how you can run a business on like this on a 4-day week when you have customers. If every single one of our customers was on a 4-day week, which, let's face it, is never going to happen. You know, some of them are not on 5, they're 6, they're 7, they're running shifts. They're running 24/7. You know, medical companies, they can't just turn it off. So how can you, as a supplier, do the same? It's just, I don't get it. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the things I struggle with.
And how do you find the manufacturing now? Because of course that's what we're in. You deal internationally with your principals. You travel a lot. Yeah. Where are we as a nation, do you think, in that? And I know a lot of podcasts in our industry, that's what they start with. Okay, we're coming to that towards the end, which is probably a lot of what people want to hear from you.
Well,
because Brexit was a big thing for you as a machine tool supplier.
The Brexit, of course, that has an effect. COVID, we've talked about, was the big one. Always looking on the positive. Try to look at getting a positive out of a situation. And I would say, all right, we talked about the negatives, what's come out of COVID, but let's talk about the positive. I think it's given the industry, the country, a bit of a kick up the arse, to be honest, to say, look, okay, we need to be top of a game here. You need the high-end equipment. You need to be super efficient. If you're going to be competitive in a global market, you need to be super competitive. You need to look at automation. You need to all of this. So the positive is I think you'll see it's moved forward. We've had a bit of a step change. If we're going to the skills gap, you know, big skills gap, and that. How do we make things better than we used to make things with less skill? And that for ETG, it kind of falls into our lap, because that's what we're about, really. We're not box shifters. We're no good at that sort of thing. So when it comes to the automation and turnkey and stuff like that, that ticks our box. So we're seeing an awful lot more of that.
And during your journey, Martin, you mentioned earlier about one of the hardest decisions was the redundancies during COVID.
Yeah.
What are some of the, and again we talked about this off screen, the bad choices, the bad things that you look back on and go, not necessarily as to say it was a mistake, or maybe it was a mistake, and you can go, you know, is there any things that you can
it's
put
hard,
your
isn't
finger
it?
on?
It's hard to say, well, I don't think I've ever.
Or is it just part of growing a business?
Yeah.
Just part of growing a company?
They've never made a choice that's killed someone. You know, I've never made, and that would be a massive decision that you regret. All the others, they're not. All right, some of them have had, you know, dire consequences but most of it's for me personally, sort of thing. But actually, is that a bad thing? It's all right, isn't it? You know, because you won't do that again.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't do it, how do you know whether it's bad or good? So you can either sit there and make zero decisions, and say, well, actually, I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it safe, and just stay where I am. You're never going to move forward, though.
Have you made decisions and gambles that would have invariably have a massive, massive impact on your life?
Yes.
Yeah.
Loads.
And clearly, there were more right than wrong.
Yeah.
By
There's been some wrong ones. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But I mean, they're more right than wrong. But you know, you have to bear in mind, I've moved my family up and down the country and stuff like that. You know, I upped sticks and moved when I was down south to got myself in trouble debt-wise and stuff like that. And up sticks, moved the whole family 200 mile away. Didn't have a job at the time. That's when I went into. I got the job at Horn, luckily enough. But sold the house, you know, and I had to sell the house, clear the debts off and stuff like that. The bailiff knocking on the door and all this sort of stuff. So I'd clearly made a bad decision. But here I am now, thinking, right, okay, that's not going to happen again. I can advise other people that I've been there, done that, guide them and say, well, don't do that because that's what happened to me. So is it bad? Not really. Unfortunately I've just sacrificed a bit of a rubbish time so I can teach others not to do it.
But you have to have an element of a relaxed nature to be able to navigate your way through those kind of situations, don't you? And you have to almost be protected by a steel suit, don't you? And that comes across as very much in your personality as well. And if you were to communicate to others looking to start companies to build like what you've built here, is that part of what that person needs to be? Do they need to be able to just, you know, take these gambles and go, do you know what? There's a lot bigger things to worry about in life, like my health, my family, this, that, and the other.
Well, yes. The biggest thing is the time's got to be right for you, because you know, I was lucky enough, as I say, with myself and Louise, they're my partner in crime, if you like. So we had the kids young, and if they've flown the nest now successfully, doing all right, they're okay. So if I made a big decision now, big gamble if you like, and it went pear-shaped, Louise and I could live in a caravan down the road. Or a boat, yeah, a narrow boat would be quite nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. So it doesn't really matter, does it? But when you've got the kids and families and stuff like that, and you've got proper mortgage to pay and all this sort of stuff, then you have to weigh it up a bit more. So it's all about how risky you want to be.
And there's something I remember from talking to you a few years ago, which has always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And it was during a conversation we probably had, you know, over a beer or something. And there's a song that you I think you sent me the lyrics for, or you
The Gambler.
The Gambler.
Kenny Rogers, The Gambler.
Where's the relevance?
Well, he's got 4 lines in that. You've got to know. The Gambler, Kenny Rogers, you've got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. And I've brought that with me throughout my life. It was me dad used to play it, the country and western, back at home in the weekends, and repeat. So it sticks in my head. But actually, them 4 lines that he says in there is pretty relevant in life. Yeah. You know, you've got to know when to hold on.
And do you often find yourself thinking, hang on, I've got to go back to my 4...
If I go back to basics, sometimes I'm like, right, okay, what direction we're going in here? You go back, right, what do we do with this? Do we hold on to it? Do we fold it and say that's gone? Do we walk away and say, no, we don't want anything to do with it? Or do we just get out of here and have absolute, keep it at arm's length? So they're the 4 things,
Have you ever done the run one? Loads
of times, yeah. Quite a few times, yeah. So
when
with
the bill
characters.
when the bill comes out.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. It's been fabulous to do this podcast with you, Martin. The manufacturing we've spoken about and your business here, where does the future lie then for you as...
Personally?
Personally.
Okay, so everyone's got a plan, haven't they? But it's like Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face, you know, and it all goes pear-shaped. So where's my crystal ball? That's the problem. I'd love to be able to get the company to a point where actually, and the people bringing along behind me, getting them to a point where they can sort of almost make me redundant. I'm not needed anymore. So you sort of hand it over, they can take it to the next step. I would want to see it keep going and going. I'd be a pool boy in Lanzarote or whatever. I've got this big thing about wanting to sail around the world in a catamaran, you know.
So how far away are these dreams?
Well, they weren't that far away a few years back, but then COVID come out. So nowadays, I don't say, you know what, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time, this is step. You can't. You can have the end game, but how you navigate to it and how long it takes, I don't know. But that'll be my end game.
So one day we can expect to see you in something bigger than the boat that we had the incident on.
Yeah, a bit safer as well. It'll have lights on.
Martin, thank you very much for participating in this
You're
podcast.
welcome.
It's been a real pleasure, and I'm sure for the audience to learn a lot more about not just ETG and your journey, but about you as a person.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers, Paul.